Hey guys, welcome back to the video series here. This is the part 2 of how to airbrush that 72 Roadrunner that I did. So all I'm doing here in this step here is I'm just masking the vehicle off. I'm just going to get ready to use that clear masking film again. So what I'm going to get ready to do here is I'm just going to get ready to cut the vehicle out. So any of the portions of the vehicle that I'm going to be airbrushing in the gray metallic, that's what you see me cutting out right now. So that's the body of the car. And that's pretty much about it. So I'm going to cut that out, pull that off here, and then I'm going to spray that in with a gray metallic. Once that's all done, I'll spray in the Kandy Magenta color over top of that there as well. And if you guys are wondering where the best place to get your paint is for airbrushing, like I was saying earlier, I think in the previous video, I like to use the House of Colors paint and custom shop paint. If you check out tcpglobal.com, I'll include links in the description at the end of the video. That's where I usually get my airbrush paint from. It comes pre-mixed. You can get it either 2-ounce or 4-ounce bottles, and it's just really nice and easy to use. So tcpglobal.com has that. Airbrush or coastairbrush.com as well has that there too. So be sure to check those out for any of your airbrush paint needs. Custom Shop has really nice paint. Same with House of Color as well. Coast Airbrush has some different other providers I think there too, like Createx and some other waterborne paints. I prefer to use the urethane based paints because that's what I'm going to be clear coating this project with afterwards. Is going to be some urethane clear. So just going back over this here, just getting the fine little spots that I missed, like that rear view mirror, side mirror piece. Now I'm just spraying in with the silver metallic. So you can do this if you have a mini jet gun, you're going to get a better spray out. But I'm just doing this to show you that if you don't have that, and you do have your airbrush gun, you can still get that sprayed with the airbrush gun. Just be aware that when you are spraying this with the airbrush gun, you are going to get a lot of dry metallics. So chances are they could stand up and you're going to get a rough texture when you go to spray your candy coat over top of this. But don't worry about it, because once you spray your clear on top of that afterwards and wet sand it, you're gonna end up with a flat surface. So it's not really that big of a deal. But I'm just kind of showing you can use your airbrush gun to spray the metallic even if you don't have a mini jet gun, which would be probably the better option because you'll get the more even spray with the metallic too. But just for the purposes of the video, I'm showing you that you can use the airbrush gun to do this step. And then you can also use a mini jet gun at the same time. Which you'll see me do later on in the video, as I'll use the mini jet to spray the candy coat over top of the car. And when you're spraying the silver metallic here too, what you want to watch out for is don't spray it too thick, as you see I made a mistake of doing, but also at the same time I go back in and I'll show you later on that if you do spray it too dark and you end up losing your lines that are underneath there, you can always just reapply them later on. But when you're spraying, make sure you can still see your lines. I can still see the lines up until the point where I put the candy on, and they were very, very faint. At that point, I thought I'd just I'll just show you later on in the video that I just re-add the lines just so you can see them again, right? But if you do spray it, spray it a little bit light so you can still see your transition lines and your highlight lines that you'll need later on as well. So guys, the next step you want to do after you have the silver laid down is you want to mix your candy color. So what I'm going to do with this step here, I'm going to show you. So if you do happen to have a small little touch-up gun like this, you can use this to cover it. You could use the same thing for the silver, but I just did with the airbrushing just to show you that if you don't have a minigun, you can also use your airbrush just to cover that space as well. It's a little bit more time consuming, but still it's going to work just the same. So I will be using the minigun to do the candy paint here. So what you want to do next is you want to get your RU311 medium reducer and your SG100 intercoat clear. I like using House of Color products. I like the quality and I like the color variety that I get from these. So these are the products that I like to use. You can use this with any other. You can do this style with any other color, candy color paint manufacturers like PPG or anything like that. So, but I just use House of Color. That's what I'm familiar with, and that's what I like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix my Kandy concentrate here. This is KK16 CO2 Magenta. This is a beautiful color when it's sprayed over top of a silver or a flake. For a pink color, you want to stand out. This color is going to stand out, and that's exactly why I'm doing this too, because I think on the 72 Roadrunner, this color here with the white pearl original 72 Roadrunner stripes are going to pop and look phenomenal in the sunlight. So I can't wait to finish up the concept and see what it's like done. So the way I mix this is, if you take a look inside a cup here, you got all your mixture measurements inside. I like to do this one here, which is 2 parts Intercoat Clear to 1 part RU311 reducer, and I just add the Kandy until I'm happy with how it's covering, right? And I'll show you how I do that in a second with the paint stick, just to give a quick coverage. I'm not doing a big portion, so I'm gonna mix it a bit stronger, just so I can get it done in less coats. But a normal Kandy paint job, you're looking probably about 6-7 coats to get full coverage with that as well. And then you can see in the background here too, there's another 63C10 kind of concept art that I'm doing. What I'm waiting for my silver leaf to come in so I can finish this. So what I do here is I'll actually silver leaf this part. I'll silver leaf the grille, the headlight bezels, the rims, anything like that. For this, I'll silver leaf, so it gives me that chrome effect without having to airbrush it, and it has a really cool look. I haven't seen anyone else do it, so I'm just waiting on my silver leafing to come back in. When that does come back in, I'll finish off this, and I'll show you the other steps on this one here to get it all finished up. But yeah, so this is the products I use. RU311 medium reducer, SG100 Intercoat Clear. Mix these with my Kandy concentrates, and I'll lay that down. So yeah, I'll get that all set up here and get this all ready to spray out. So now that I got my Kandy concentrate all mixed up with my inner coat clear, so once again, what I used for that was 2 parts inner coat clear, 1 part medium reducer, which is RU311 for House of Color, and I just kind of mixed the Kandy just so I can get coverage and more coats than like a little bit darker, so I can get more coats right away with it. So I'm just using my mini jet gun here to cover this portion up. But like I was saying earlier, you can use your airbrush gun if you don't have one of these. That's why I showed you earlier. Spraying the metallic with the airbrush gun and then spraying the Kandy with the mini jet gun. If you're going to be doing something this big though, it's definitely a lot easier if you've got a mini jet gun to get more coverage for these kind of paint here too. So, and if you can see right there in the top right hand corner, I bought this automotive paint. I forget what, or sorry, automotive tape. I forget what it was called, but it was absolutely no good. And I don't think I will ever buy it again because this is a common issue I've had with it. Is it anytime I'm spraying with it, it just keeps lifting. It's just no good. So yeah, definitely last time I'll be using that. I don't know what the name of it was, but it's not very good. And that was one of the non-benefits of where I live is I don't have access to a full body shop where I can get the proper like 3M tape. So at least I was able to order some of that in. So I've got the better 3M tape now, which I don't have that issue with it coming up and coming undone when I'm applying the paint or anything else like that, right? So yeah, if you are doing any of this, best bet is 3M, the green automotive tape. Works fantastic. I rarely have any lifting issues with that tape, just so you're aware. And yeah, just like I said, you can go back over here. Now probably give this about 2-3 coats of Kandy just to pass over top of it here. At this point here too, I can still see my lines underneath, the highlight lines that go across like the door, the fender, the bumper, stuff like that. I can still see them. The only thing is once I got this all cleared out and I have it underneath the lights, this can become a little bit harder to see later on. So at that point, I just show you that, hey, if you're having troubles, you can always re-add those lines and make it easier on yourself. So guys, now that I got this all sprayed out, so I just unmasked it here once it was kind of dry to the touch. The Kandy with the Kandy concentrate with the inner coat clear and the reducer will dry fairly quickly, right? And you'll be able to touch it and unmask it. So as you can see with the light on it there, you got a lot of graininess appearing. That's because the dry spray from spraying metallic through the airbrush gun. It doesn't look too pleasant at first, but don't worry about it. Once you get some clear coat laid out on this and sand that down, it's going to be flat. And once you spray your clear over top of it, it's still going to have a really nice appearance. So now that I got the car unmasked, what I like to do next is I like to give it a shot of clear coat with hardener. And the reason for that is because I sprayed a lot of Kandy, and I also sprayed the metallic underneath it as well. It's built up a lot of hard edges. So this way, what I like to do at this point, just spray it with some clear coat, let that dry overnight, come back, I'm going to sand it down. And when I sand it down, then I'm going to be left with a nice flat surface just to do all the highlighting stuff, which is basically what's left for doing the project here. The little bit of airbrushing that it's going to take to cover the rest of the stuff, it's not going to build up a whole lot of lines. So whenever I do my final coat of clear, I'll be able to wet sand that down and then polish it out, and it's going to be all nice and flat. So at this point here, like I said, this is where I like to spray my clear so I can knock down my hard edges. So this is Omni. It's just it's a cheaper clear coat. It's just, I'm going to sand it down anyway, so I don't want to use something that's expensive like a House of Color just to sand it right off, right? So this is pretty good. It mixes 4 parts clear coat to 1 part hardener. I've already got it mixed up here in the cup as well. You can just see in here, and I mixed it at this portion on the cup here too, right there. So 4 parts hardener, sorry, 4 parts clear, 1 part hardener, and if you want, you can throw a little half a shot of reducer in there too. I usually don't. I like having nice solid clear that I can sand down to get a nice flat surface afterwards. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'm going to load up the paint gun here, set the camera back up, give it about probably 3 coats of clear to bury all those hard lines, and then yeah, let it dry overnight and come back tomorrow and sand it down. So as you've seen right there, I'll probably give it a little extra shot of clear just on where the body of the car is, just to build up that clear coat a little bit more. So when I go to sand it there tomorrow, I'm not worried about breaking through and sanding through to the artwork underneath. After doing this for a bit, the first time you go to sand something like that, it's kind of you're kind of worried about breaking through, but after a while and you get used to your clear coat thickness and how you tend to spray, you know, it's not worrisome anymore, and you get pretty comfortable where you can sand that flat down and you don't worry about anything. So like I said, I'll give this about 3 coats of clear here now. I usually give it probably a medium to wet heavy coat of clear. Once that's all sprayed down, I'll let it dry overnight, and then I'll come back in and I'll sand it flat there tomorrow. And as you'll see here too, when I was spraying, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but there ended up being a whole lot of dust nibs and dirt and stuff in this and then end up in this first little section. As you'll see when I go to show you at the very end of the video, there's a lot of dirt nibs and stuff like that. Once again, you know, it's spraying in the garage, and I'm not too worried about it. I found out what the issue was later on there, so cleared that up, got it. So anything else that I've been spraying after this, you know, it's turned out pretty good with relatively few next to no dust nibs. But just as you do see in the video at the end of it, there are a lot of dust nibs. If you do end up with stuff like that, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Even if that's in your final clear coat, you can always wet sand and polish that stuff out and you won't see it. But it's always nice if you have a cleaner space of spraying, of course, because you won't have to do as much wet sanding and polishing. But if you do have stuff like that, like I said, don't worry about it. You're able to fix that later on. So that's it there, guys. I put 3 coats of clear on this here. Tomorrow I'm going to wet sand or sand it down, probably with 320 or 400 to get rid of these hard edges. And if you take a look at the light right here, that's the hard lines I'm talking about, because the buildup of the metallic paint, especially the metallic paint, because when I use the airbrush to show you how to do that as well, if you didn't have a mini jet gun or a touch-up gun, sometimes with the airbrush it dries. It does spray pretty dry, so you get a lot of stand-up metallics. So that will cause like a little rough texture. But I'm not spray painting the car. I'm just doing something in my garage so I can show you, you know, just how that is there. So Anyway, yeah, you can see all the hard lines here right when that light passes over top of it and it dips down. Anything like that, or any of these little hard edges, or like a dust nib right there, for example, I'm going to sand all those things down flat, add in my final details there tomorrow. Yeah, and so then whenever I start with doing stuff like the interior, for example, or like the wheels and tires, or the grill here, I'm going to be starting with a flat area. It's going to be minimal build up stuff like that, especially because most of the stuff is going to be either dark gray, which I plan on painting the rims here. Obviously in between the rim spokes is going to be black, so stuff like that's going to cover it up real easy. Once I'm done all that final detail stuff, I'm going to mask the vehicle off. I'll spray my background, my background colors in there. Yeah, and basically go from there and spray it back into a clear coat. So anyway, I'm going to sit, let this all dry overnight, come back here tomorrow. I'm going to knock all this flat with 320 or 400, and then yeah, I'll be all set up and ready to airbrush the interior, and yeah, make everything a lot more crisp. So